Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Inside the Trojans Huddle from WeAreSC.com. And I don't know if you heard, but there's a big game this week. I mean, Michigan's first trip to the Coliseum in 60 or 70 years would always be a big deal. But considering that USC has no real path to a successful season unless they win Saturday, I think you can make an argument this may be the game of the year. So we're going to spend a ton of time on this in just a second. First, a commercial. Come hang out with us Friday. Meet and greet, WeAreSC. We're going to be at Rock and Riley's at USC Village, right across the street from the campus. Should be good. I'll bring some t-shirts, WeAreSC t-shirts. I should be more specific about what t-shirts I'm bringing. Mark will be signing autographs if you can fight through the paparazzi to get to them. As John Lennon put it, a splendid time is guaranteed for all. Show up Friday, 6:30, Rock and Riley's. Okay, fellas, let's jump into this. And let's start with this, because we're going to be talking about these matchups. We're going to be trying to offer predictions and insight. But can we first agree that college football is just crazy? And we saw again this past weekend where you have a Florida team that had been really humiliated pretty weakly. Their offensive line couldn't block anybody. Their offense was a disaster. Just take it to Texas. Granted, it helped that Texas has maybe the worst quarterback in the SEC, but still, you didn't see that coming. And then in one of the all-time horrible losses, maybe the worst Power Four team in the nation, the UCLA Bruins. I don't know the name of their coach. I only know the name of one player. I know that I checked their scores just to see how badly they've been blown out at home by New Mexico. And the answer is badly. And they take it to Penn State. Now, we know from watching college football for many years that crazy things happen in college football. Here's my question for you guys. Does watching the games last week change your impression of what happened at Illinois? Now, Mark, I'm going to let you start because I know you have an opinion on this and have been talking about it yourself. So let's go. Should we look at Illinois differently after watching James Franklin turn over a new leaf and not just lose the big games, but also lose one that he had no business losing?
Yes, it should change. I mean, USC was playing on the road against a ranked opponent, a team that won 10 games the year before, a team that was everyone kind of anticipated was going to be in the playoff picture this year. And then they ran into a buzzsaw the week earlier when they went to Indiana, got their, butts handed to them 63-10. They came home, they recovered, they put their big boy pants on, and USC ended up losing by 2 points on the road to a quality opponent. Whereas you're thinking, all right, that's the end of USC season. 1 week later, Penn State, they lose at home to Oregon, sold out stadium, one of those gut punch type of losses, close loss at the end. They have to fly all the way across the country, and they have to take on as you said, the worst team in the Power Four conference neighborhood, UCLA. I mean, they were losing to New Mexico, UNLV, they're losing to Northwestern. And then all of a sudden, you get the son of Jeff Spicoli. He's calling offensive plays for UCLA. And it's showing that, you know what? If you come out and play, even against a team that you're not supposed to beat, you have an opportunity to win. That's why they say play the game, see what happens. So USC fans should look at it from this perspective. You lost on the road to a quality opponent. Should USC have probably won that game? Yeah, we like to make that argument. Should Penn State have been able to lose this game to UCLA? No. I mean, even if they just give a semblance of an effort, don't overlook the Bruins. They should have won that game. They made a furious comeback. They couldn't stop a running quarterback, and that's been USC's problem. So I talked about this on Sunday. USC fans should be feeling a lot better about themselves because their loss is considered a quality loss. And as Chris, you just said, Penn State literally took USC off the map of having the worst loss ever. We remember that loss at home to Stanford. They were a 41-point favorite.
Oh, don't, no, don't, why are you bringing that up?
Because I'm
Don't
trying
talk
to
about
I'm
that.
trying to show you how much better that loss was. Because you know what Stanford went on to do. They went on a little bit of a run for a few years. I don't know that UCLA is in that position right now. So
No, I can assure you they're not. Okay, look, Greg, I'm just guessing. It's a pure guess, but I think you're going to disagree with Mark, so I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, disagreeing with Mark, you have to take your life in your own hands because,
Very dangerous.
I
Yes.
mean, Mark is walking
are you saying that
calories.
that Penn State loss wasn't as bad as Stanford or USC to Stanford?
Say that again. I'm sorry, Mark.
Saying that that Penn State loss to UCLA wasn't as bad as the USC loss to Stanford?
I think they were both.
It's in the conversation. I'm actually asking Greg a different question. Greg,
Yeah.
after watching what we saw last week, should we feel better about the Illinois loss, or should we still be looking at the Illinois loss and shaking our head and be distraught?
Well, I'm shaking my head.
I knew you would. I knew it. Go ahead. Let's hear it.
What would you expect me to say? If you can take losing, you can take more losing. I mean, there was so much that was riding on that game, but we were all, I'm not, I mean, I've done it so many times, distracted by a 9 o'clock start. Da, 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 da. In the end, the defense couldn't hold up, right? We know that. Lincoln Riley knew that. I didn't have a problem with them scoring a little early. They had to get points, and I would much rather say, well, at least we scored points, enough points to win. It was up to that defense. Uh, SC's loss, and I'm not going to touch on this much at all. SC's loss to Stanford was an embarrassment under at that particular time where USC was on top of the world, basically. So that doesn't play into my life at all. I don't get disturbed about it. I go, you know what? It just happened. But UCLA, I give them credit. They played hard. I watched the game. I don't think that James Franklin turned over a new leaf. I think James Franklin, the coach of Penn State, returned to his old leaf. I mean, the last time I really watched him in person, I saw them when they lost to SC and blew a Rose Bowl out, having a lead and then giving it up by stupid pass calling without any clock management. So my thing is, look, this game coming up against Michigan is going to be all you need to know about where SC is headed. You know what? This idea that, well, we should have beaten Illinois. Look, if you should have, you would have. Bottom line, that's why you play a game. I don't go into moral victories for myself. Well, at least we played hard against them. No, the only thing that counts is what's on that scoreboard. And anybody who wants to say it doesn't count, I don't see that point of view, to be honest with you. So I think the Illinois loss was a really huge loss. How many losses for Lincoln Riley on big games at USC? On the road. Da 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 da. Here's the point again. Whatever happens in this Michigan game is going to be what this season, because Notre Dame's coming next. And I think we all agreed that those three games, Illinois, Michigan, Notre Dame, and maybe even Nebraska, depending on where Nebraska is by the time SC plays them, this is going to change the season. And if it works out well, great. Let's face it, only 4 teams probably will get into the playoffs from the Big Ten. At least that seems to be the consensus thought. If you say two of them are Michigan and Oregon, probably not much argument there. So that leaves two.
I think you mean Ohio State and Oregon.
What did I say? Michigan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I meant Ohio State. Thank you. Yeah, Ohio State and Oregon. And then, it's either going to be Illinois, USC, Michigan, and maybe someone else that we're not, maybe Nebraska fans feel, well, we'll be that fourth team. But there's a ton riding on this game on Saturday, a ton.
There it is. All right, Eric, give me the Goldilocks position, the one that's just right. Not too hard, not too soft. Does Illinois change anything? Or is Illinois changed at all by what we saw last week?
On paper, yes. On paper. You still have to win the games on the field physically, and that doesn't change what we saw from this team, that they couldn't get a defensive stop given how not even just the last one, right? At all. Basically, one like true stop in the entire game against that Illinois team. So again, if you're looking back on it, if USC figures it out, beats Michigan, beats one of two, Notre Dame, Oregon, something like that, you finish with Illinois as one of your two losses and you're playing well, you look back and you go, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. If what we saw in that game physically shows up again and again and again, and you lose 5 games, then who cares what Penn State did or what any of the others? Oh, this team lost and we didn't see that come in and this whatever. So that's where it is for me. At the end of what you saw right afterward was, man, USC really had no business losing that game. They needed one play. You have to win that game. A lot of teams are going to say that about a lot of losses this year. So that's not special. It's, were the problems in that game, now are they going to repeat over and over and over? And that's where your problem is. But no, if again, is Ohio State sitting there going, man, I can't believe we lost to Michigan last year. That was terrible. What a horrible season. No.
They might be. Actually, that game they might be.
So that's not their first thought. That's not their first thought when they think back to last season. It creeps in a little bit, and USC Illinois is not Ohio State Michigan. But the point of, if USC finishes the year strong, wins a bunch of games, finishes the way they want, no, you're not looking back at Illinois and going, oh, I can't believe that they lost by that. But if that's the first sign of, man, things really went south, then yeah, it's big.
Yeah. So the Penn State game, one, it means that Penn State has maybe almost already taken itself out of playoff contention, which is something, because you figured Penn State, Oregon, and Ohio State were basically shoo-ins, and you had a bunch of teams fighting to be the fourth team. Penn State's probably not going to be there. One, because with 2 losses already, they're already in trouble. One of those losses is horrific, and they're not going to win out. So that matters. And it's also a good reminder that teams are never as bad as they look on their worst day. They're never as good as they look on their best day. And so Illinois is not as bad as they looked against Indiana. I'm guessing that USC's defensive line is not as bad as they looked against Illinois. The problem USC has is that nobody trusts them, and for very good reason, right? Other than LSU last year in the opener, when did USC last show up for a big game? It's been a while. And if you probably since Notre Dame in 22. And so if that's what you do, if every time there's a big game and people start to talk about you and have a chance to prove it on a national stage, you fall flat on your face, then you're going to get what you get now, which is that people simply don't trust USC to show up and play physical football against Michigan. I don't know that I trust them to. So a couple of things about that. One, Trojan fans, stop talking to me about food poisoning. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear 9 a.m. We don't know how many. We hear rumors, and they're conflicting rumors. At the end of the day, I don't care. You show up, you play the game, and if you look like garbage, you look like garbage. You don't get to make excuses. We'll see this week whether that defensive line performs differently. I hope they do. And if they do, then we can look at Illinois as an anomaly. If they look like they did against Michigan, then everybody's going to go look for new excuses. I don't want to hear it. I also don't want to hear anything about the polls. There's only one poll that matters in college football in 2025, and it hasn't been released and won't be for some weeks. It's not going to come out until USC.
Are the people who vote in the football playoff poll, are they human or are they computers?
They're humans.
Okay. Who are the people who are voting in the AP poll right now? Are they humans, right?
It's not the same people, though.
It's not the same people. Look, they're humans.
They have the same thought process. Let's not draw.
No, stop. This is silly. They're different people. This is what happens. Everybody's upset because USC face planted in their first big game of the year, and then people are mad because they get no respect.
I don't want to hear excuses, Chris, but we're talking about the same concept. These are humans who are watching the AP poll and is going to shape their opinion when it's time to release that first.
Mark, if
we've
USC
talked about it before. It's better to start in the polls than outside the polls. And when you start outside the polls, look how much harder you have to fight to get back in and to stay there.
Mark, if USC beats Michigan and Notre Dame, they're going to be fine in the first poll.
If is a really small word with a lot of power behind it.
But if they don't show up against Michigan and Notre Dame, why are we even talking about this? It's absurd. Look,
so you're going to go from 31 to
USC fans. Stop whining.
Where are you going to move USC if they're from number 31 right now and they beat Michigan? Where are you moving them, Chris?
Oh, they'll be in the top 20 without question.
Oh, they're going to go from 31.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. If they beat Michigan by 7, 8, whatever it is, top 20.
We will see.
If USC beats Michigan, they will be in the top 20 next week. If they beat Notre Dame the week after that, they will be somewhere around number 10 or 11 in the country. I'm tired of talking about polls that don't matter, especially when USC hasn't shown up for a big game in a year and a half. And they show up once in 2.5 years.
But you're voting on this year. You're not voting on last year or the year before that.
No, but look, when Pete Carroll's teams would roll out for a new season, we would all say, I think they'll show up for big games because they had a track record of doing so.
Things right now. Why is Virginia still ranked? Why is Florida State still ranked?
Look, if USC would have beaten Alabama and just beaten their brains out, then we'd have something to talk about too.
But Florida
USC
State
has not done that.
Florida State then followed up with a loss to Virginia, then a loss to Miami, and they're still.
You got to put big wins together like that. Look, Mark, you've talked about schedule strength being super important forever and ever and ever, right? And how it matters more now.
Absolutely.
Beat Ole Miss to open the year, and you're wherever 7 right now, even after the loss. Like, I think that's what we're seeing. The teams that are still in there have big wins.
Alabama, the 8th best team in the country right now.
I don't know, and I don't care. Alabama,
they had a pretty big win.
Talent. They have a ton of talent. They just beat Georgia. I mean, are they this? I don't know where they are, but I know that I've seen Alabama show up and win big football games over the last couple of years.
They came back and they put the wood to Vanderbilt. They showed everybody.
They did beat Vanderbilt. That's a better win than any USC win this year. I don't know why we're complaining about the freaking polls. By the way, the polls that don't matter.
Because it's the humans who still vote in the playoff poll.
They're different humans, and humans disagree. Listen to us right now.
They're going to look at the AP poll and say, hey, you know what? Let's look at what those guys are doing, because that's how they've had them ranked all year. The coaches mirror it, or whoever's voting in the coaches poll. I don't understand why you think there's going to be this vast difference between how the playoff committee looks at it and how the AP pollsters look at it.
We knew going into the year that my
thumb and forefinger.
We knew going into the year USC would have done nothing after 4 weeks to prove anything.
I mean, look how much they had to do just to get into the top 25.
Because they didn't play anybody with a pulse.
And they still just barely creeped in.
We knew going into the year, USC would be able to do nothing the first 4 weeks to prove anything to anybody. We knew that. They had the one chance, their first chance against Illinois, and they didn't do it. Now they've got 2, and so we'll see. But like drawing conclusions about how, like, we knew this was the conclusion. Zero movement for USC the first 4 weeks, no matter what they did. And then you had a chance to make a statement. Where's USC if they beat Illinois right now? If they're undefeated, they're what, 12?
Yeah,
13. They're there. They're ahead
of Michigan, win the next for sure. They will be no lower than 12. I mean, that's the reality.
What was USC ranked going into that Illinois game?
21.
You think they're going to jump to 12 in the bye week? Have they beat Illinois? Come on.
With all those other teams losing and everything, yeah.
They'd be top 15 right now. But the truth is, look, Trojan fans, stop whining. USC has to beat somebody with a pulse. They have 2 chances on a national stage. If they do it, they will be no lower than 12 after beating Notre Dame.
I just think it's weird. I think it's odd that you've completely gone 180 degrees. We're early in the year saying it matters where you start in the polls, and now you're saying it doesn't matter.
No, it matters. It matters. It matters where you're starting the polls if you're worried about where you are in the AP poll. But if USC beats Michigan and Notre Dame, when the only poll that matters comes out, they will be fine.
Let's worry about Michigan, who has 1 loss because they lost on the road to Oklahoma. And that's why they're still where they're at right now. But they lose. If Michigan loses to USC, you really think USC is going from 31 to number 20 or better?
Yeah, guarantee it. Guarantee it.
I'll buy
And
your
if I'm wrong, Mark, if I'm wrong, you can go back and call me an idiot next week, but I won't be. They'll be at 20. They'll be at 20. All right, well, guys, that was fun, and I like arguing with Mark. And by the way, show up at Rock and Riley's on Friday, and you can tell me how stupid I was to disagree with Mark on this. Hey, listen.
I'm sorry that I'm using your words against you. I apologize for that.
I mean, I'm not worried about it, Mark. I'm telling USC fans to stop whining. The team has to show up and beat somebody with a pulse.
Two different
If
things.
they don't do that, it doesn't matter.
No one's arguing that point, Chris.
Good. Then let's move on and let's talk about whether they're going to pull it off. Let's talk about this first. I want to focus first on the running game matchups, and I want to start with the one that probably should frighten us the most. The Michigan running game against the USC run defense. Michigan's running back, Justice Haynes, is really good. Sherrod Moore was talking about how he should be in the Heisman hunt. He's not going to be because running backs don't win the Heisman, and Michigan's not going to be good enough to get him there anyway. But this is an exceptional back who breaks long runs just about every week. So let's start there. Eric, what do you want to tell us about this? Because I'm nervous. Should I be nervous or should I feel good?
I am nervous, so I'm probably not going to make you feel good. He's good. He is, Illinois had the 3 guys and whatever, but like nondescript. They had 3 guys. Justice Haynes is top 3. Like he's a Doak Walker kind of kid. The patience that he's been able to show, like running behind that line, it's gonna be you got to be buttoned up in what gap you're in, and you got to send bodies at him. It's not Bo Jackson. He's not untouchable. Like you can tackle this guy, but it's going to be I think it's going to feel a lot like the Michigan game last year. I think it's going to feel a lot like that. If you miss, it's out the back end and it's going. He's faster than what Michigan had last year and can take more advantage of gaps and go. And we saw Michigan hit big ones last year against USC. So I think that's big. I mean, I know that it's been so frustrating to watch USC give up big pass plays all year. I'd take a chance on that. I mean, I don't think you can let Justice Haynes get out the backside because you've got 6, 7, attached to him. I think that you really need to sell out, and you can't make it easy because he's hit some early easy ones. And once that happens, you start that confidence going on that side. And I think that's the biggest key. USC just has to make it really, really, really tough. I think his fewest yards per carry in any game this year is like 6.2 or something. Like he's just cut through everybody. And so this is how you set it up, right? If you're doing a script for a movie or whatever, like USC's defensive line, defensive front gets talked about all offseason. They get absolutely bloodied against Illinois. You get a week to just sit and stew and figure it out. And now here's your test. The Michigan offensive line is not as good as Michigan's offensive line last year. The Michigan offensive line is fine. It's fine. It's a line where if USC's defensive line is what it says it was all offseason, you should be able to have the advantage in that game. Now, are you what you said all offseason? And here's your chance to prove it. But yeah, he's the guy. He's absolutely the guy that all 11 on defense need to know where he is at all times.
Greg, the issue is not just Justin Haynes also, because Underwood, while only a true freshman, is a true freshman that can run, right? This is a guy you have to keep in the pocket. He's a guy they can use in the running game. Michigan they're probably going to be healthier on the O-line this week than they've been in the last few. They're getting some guys back, or they think they're going to. So, Greg, USC is going to give up a long run to Justice Haynes. Yes. And number two, what do they need to do to make it where they only give up one long run? I mean, you give up a long touchdown run, that's 7 points. You can survive that. What you can't do is survive a 237-yard game where you just can't stop the guy.
Well, I think SC is really going to be challenged. I know that Bryce Underwood, the freshman, he's tremendous. I mean, he is flat out tremendous running the ball. He's big, 6'4", about 210, runs like a running back. His passing is not horrible. It's not, he's not Matt Leinart type of passer, so to speak. But I will say this, he can throw the ball. And if they run play action passes, which I think they probably would and should, he could be a person that all of a sudden he has a big game running the ball. And SC has not proven to me at this point in time, I'm sorry to say, that I can trust that they can stop a really good physical rushing attack. This is not going to be 9 a.m. It's not going to be 7:30 at night. This is going to be a game that you have to remember that Michigan is 2-0 in the Big Ten, right? So they're undefeated. They need to beat SC to get to the playoffs themselves. And they're 4-1 overall with the loss to, Oklahoma. My feeling is this is, I've already said this before. This is it for USC in terms of, where they're going to go in if they have playoff consideration. If they beat Michigan, they position themselves okay. Because if Illinois gets in the playoffs, and SC gets in the playoffs, the only thing people are going to say is, well, Illinois beat SC, and then someone's going to say, well, that's because last second field goal. Okay, that's part of the game. More power. SC came back, Illinois came back. It still got down the defense. I think that my concern is that where SC still is weak on defense, it's going to get down to who's going to play on that defensive line. How are they going to do it? How are the linebackers going to react? I know what the secondary is going to do one way or the other. I think that's pretty evident to me, but it's really how tough is the SC defensive line going to be against a team that has lived, and you can go all the way back. I mean, it's not really all the way back to Jim Harbaugh and his philosophy, and they're still running the ball. And if they have a passing attack that's effective, SC is going to have its hands full, I'm sorry to say. But if they come up and they play less guys, and those less guys play really, really strong, SC has a really solid chance to win, in my opinion.
So, Mark, you spend a lot of time around the USC campus, talking to players, coaches, people around the program. What's your take on how USC feels right now about their defensive front against this Michigan O-line and running attack? Oh, you're muted, Mark.
I'm not sure. Thank you. I'm not sure what the staff feels about this game. I haven't talked to them about it yet. I know what they told us going into the season, and they looked great for the first 4 games, and then Illinois popped up. I'm one of the ones who hasn't used any excuses. 9 a.m. food poisoning. They got their butts kicked. But again, that's why I go back to my earlier point that USC was playing a good team that was embarrassed the week before, got their minds right, came out and did what Illinois is supposed to do. They played to their identity. That's what USC needs to do, play to their identity. And if that defensive line, if that defense is as good as we thought they were, hope they're going to be for the rest of the season, they got to go back and do what they were doing in those first 4 games. And if you're going to commit to stopping the run, which you have to do against Michigan, you better make sure that you're stopping him before he gets past that linebacker group. Because if you're going to put 7 or 8 in the box, if he gets through, yeah, you're going to see that 65, 70, 75-yard run because there's no one back there to stop him. So if I'm USC, I'm committing to stopping the run. Like you said, make Bryce Underwood beat you through the air. He has talent. He has the arm strength. He can make throws. He's still learning how to play quarterback. Everything he does right now is one speed. It's a fastball, especially when you get him on the move where he's throwing under pressure. He had his best game of the season last year. I think, Eric, you put up the numbers, 19 for 28, 270 yards, and 1 touchdown. His wide receivers aren't great. So yes, USC needs to go show everybody that they can play physical, that they can stop the run. You're not going to stop Michigan from putting up yards on the ground. So set a goal. Keep Michigan to 150 or less on the ground. We've got a really good chance of winning this game.
Yeah, this is the ultimate gut check game for this defensive front. These guys got a fair amount of hype around the program before the season started. They've had games this year where they looked like they were really coming around and had a bunch of future NFL players. And then they went and got humiliated on national television, right? And it was bad. It was really bad. They couldn't rush a passer. They couldn't stop the run. They couldn't get a tackle for loss. They got their heads caved in for 4 quarters, and it was embarrassing. And now they're going to have 2 weeks to sit and stew on that. We're going to see what these guys are made of. If they come out against Michigan and play much better than they did against Illinois, and I think they will play better than they did against Illinois, then you can chalk that up to the same sort of things that, well, weird things happen in college football. Illinois gets beat by 53. Penn State loses to UCLA. Crazy things happen, and you don't always know why. But if they come out against Michigan and once again they're getting pushed around and controlled in the running game, then USC has gigantic issues, not just Saturday. Because theoretically, USC could still score a bunch of points at home and win, even despite that, right? They almost beat Illinois on the road, despite playing no defense. But it's going to be really difficult to beat Michigan and virtually impossible to beat Notre Dame and Oregon unless that defensive line shows that they're much, much better than we saw last week. Because those 2 games are going to be on a completely different level of challenge. This is the season. Right, this game is the season, and this matchup is the season. We'll talk about the pass defense in a minute. Don't expect it to be great. I think we have some reason to think it might be a little bit better. But the truth is, it all comes down to what USC's front 7 does against Michigan. I'm with Mark. You have to commit to the run in this game. You have to stop it. You cannot play a light box and just hope things go okay. You got to commit to it, and you got to get after them. You have to get off blocks. And USC's linebackers have to play dramatically better. You're playing against a team that wants to run the ball. Let's not hang back 4 or 5 yards because it's an RPO and we're not sure what they're going to do. Run to grass, find a hole, make a tackle. And if they throw the ball over your heads, then let the safeties clean it up. I mean, you have to play that way in this game. I don't know if USC can do it. I do think they'll play better, but this is the best running game they've seen by far, and I think it's where the matchup is decided. We're going to find out. Let's talk about the USC running game now against Michigan's defense. Michigan has a pretty good run defense statistically. I don't know that they played a lot of great running teams, to be honest, but statistically they've been pretty good. And USC's been pretty good running the football. I want to start with this, Eric. How USC runs the ball is going to depend to a large extent on how their offensive line fares against a pretty good Michigan front. Not as good as last year's, but pretty good. And part of that depends on who's going to be out there playing for USC. So what do you expect? And I know we're not allowed to give away confidential information on injuries. I'm not asking you to do that, but what do you expect USC will put out on the field on the offensive line? And how do you see those guys handling a pretty stout Michigan front?
Well, we know, right? We know there's a backup center. Jean-Ray Reed is going to play. He's got the next 2 games. I think, right? That's a best case scenario. Like how if you have to replace your center, he gets some snaps at Illinois, you get the bye week. Now you go in here. Elijah Page is the one to watch, right? Like he missed the Illinois game. It was one of those things where he went out to warm up with the team, but you could tell he wasn't warming up to play in the game. But the fact that he's out there at all, right? Could have been in sweats on the sideline doing nothing. So fact that he's warming up at all, again, you get the bye week. He'll be one to watch a little bit like Jacoby Lane was. Like, how much does he warm up? Is he actually in there? Is he going to play? He's big. He's big in this one, right? I mean, you look back at the Michigan game last year and struggled a lot in that, where he's come from that point to this point, the experience, all that stuff. You want your starters out there. He's going to be significant, I think, in this one if he can go. Outside of that, if he's not there, right, you still have the same stuff. Justin Tanu flips over to left tackle. Tobias Raymond goes out to right tackle. You've got Michael Banuelos at left guard and Alani Noah at right guard. Illinois, the way they played against Illinois is the way they played a lot of last season, where it wasn't great, but it wasn't outside of the Michigan game. You never left a game going, boy, that offensive line just cost us in that one. Like, it was fine. It was fine. The Michigan, like, Gabe Akis at Illinois is one guy that you had to key on. He led the team in pressures and was a bit of a problem. Michigan's got a couple and a guy in the middle. It's not the two guys they had in the middle last year, but Rashawn Benny can play. Derek Moore on the edge, Jayshon Barham on the edge. They can be a problem for you, and they're guys that you have to be able to control on the edge. I think Jay Mayava's got more confidence in the read, right? Give, take. I think there's more of a weapon against that just free edge rusher this year than USC had against Michigan last year. But yeah, those tackles are going to be key. I think the biggest thing for USC this year, the tight ends, when they've been asked to pass block, have been good. Waymon Jordan pass blocking has been very good. So those are benefits that you get in this one, where you say, man, we've got two guys coming from either side that we have to really negate. And I still don't know. I don't know if you have the tackles right now at USC where you can just say, yep, one-on-one, you guys go handle them. So you're going to need to send help. You're going to need to figure out kind of misdirection and play action with those guys. Lincoln Riley, like, got off to a bad start against Michigan last year, seemed to figure it out a little bit, and certainly is a guy who's going to take what happened last year and be much better against it this year. So I think there are some positives, but yeah, there's question marks on the edge for that USC offensive line.
So, Mark, USC statistically has been unbelievable offensively on both sides of the ball. Defensively, it's been a struggle a little bit. When it comes to this particular matchup and the USC running game against the Michigan defense, do you expect to see more of what USC's done just about every game this year? I mean, Waymon Jordan was 20 carries, 94 against Illinois, which isn't amazing, but that's still a quality run game. You still have to worry about the run. You still have to, it still sets up the play action pass. Do we expect that, or is this a defense that has a chance to really shut down the USC run game and make them one-dimensional?
No, you continue to do what you've been doing. I mean, Sharon Moore, he pointed out USC has an explosive offense, but he kind of broke it down. USC can do everything on offense right now. We know they can throw and catch the ball. We know they can run the ball. We bring up Justice Haynes. I mean, he's I think it was the number 3 rusher in the country, 130 yards per game. Not that far down the list is Waymo. He's number 7 in the country at 107 yards per game. Here's what they're going up against. They're going up against a Michigan defense that has yet to give up a 100-yard rusher this year. USC did it last year against what I think we would all agree a better Michigan defensive line on the road. So if Woody Marks can get 100, and I know one of it came off of a nice long run, I think the combination of Waymon Jordan, Eli Sanders, Jaden Mayava, and maybe you throw King Miller in there for a changeup, who has shown that he can break off long runs as well. I think USC they're going to want to run the ball. They have to run the ball. Just so you can make that explosive offense work. So you can take some of the pressure off of Jaden, allowing him to, count to 3 Mississippis, maybe 3.5 Mississippis to find a Mekhi Lemon, to find a Jacoby Lane, to use his tight ends over the middle, whatever, however you want to utilize them. And then again, hopefully Lincoln Riley continues to call really good offense this year. Every game he seems to come up with a new play. You know what happened against Illinois, unfortunately. Dial up another one like that. Keep Michigan off balance, because they cannot just load up and stop the run, because if they do that, USC will kill them in the passing game, and that's not Michigan's strength on defense. They don't do well defending the pass. I know we like to pick on USC, and for good reason, but that's one of Michigan's weaknesses as well.
Yeah. Greg, Mark brings up a good point. Michigan is, when it comes to stopping the running game, USC can say, you know what, we're going to commit to stopping the run and force them to beat us with a pass. If Michigan does that and leaves their corners one-on-one with Jacoby, with Mekhi, they got problems. So this is a Michigan defense that's going to have to, they're going to have to stop the run game straight up, right? They can't put extra guys in the box. Is this Michigan defense good enough to stop what's been a pretty solid USC run game? And when I say stop, I mean make USC one-dimensional. USC's not going to run the ball like they did against some of the pansies they played earlier in the year. But is this Michigan defense likely to shut down the USC run game and turn it into a throw over and over and over again Lincoln Riley game like we saw some last year?
I hope not. I hope that the SC can pass the ball. It depends on, what plays they're going to run. Are they going to run draws and screens and tight end this and tight end that? That's going to be the real challenge to keep the Michigan defense off balance. I'll tell you what, no matter how you do X's and O's with who you've got, it gets down to the player, their attitude, their athletic ability. If Michigan wants to sit there and say, we are going to show Hollywood how you play physical football, you know what? That's who they are. And if SC cannot stop who they are, and I'm not just worried about the one tailback, running back. I think the quarterback changes. This is not a quarterback SC has faced before this season. This season, this quarterback is a real athlete. Maybe the best.
We'll talk about him in a second. Let's talk about that Michigan run defense against the USC run game, because I do want to spend time on it.
Okay. I'm concerned about the SC offensive line, that they have to move players around. I hope that Elijah Page will play. After all, I'm sure we're not going to have a problem with how many NFL scouts are going to be at the Coliseum on Saturday. There's enough talent there for them to get a good look, and I think the players are going to know that. So I suspect that players on both teams are going to come with the attempt to play their A game, and hopefully they will play their A game. But I think that the Michigan defense, when I watched them, I thought they were pretty physical, pretty strong, and I kept saying to myself, well, a lot of these players were still recruited in the Jim Harbaugh before he left, and I say, you know what, they've got some issues, but Sharon Moore, I think he definitely has an idea of what he's doing on defense, and I think offensively they can explode. I don't think they've really exploded yet, but hey, this may be the game that they really challenge SC's defense, and I think SC's offensive line, if they're going to make a point of it, I think that they have to dominate the Michigan defensive line. There's no doubt about it. It's big man on big man. It's who wears bigger pants, in my opinion.
I don't even know if it's dominate.
No,
you gotta show up. You gotta show up. You gotta get some tough rushing yards. You gotta figure it out offensively, right? Like it needs to be there at times, and you have to be able to run enough to where Michigan can't just put a check mark on the board and go, shut that down. That's gone. That's gone. They can't go back to that, right? I mean, that's because you look back at some of it, right? Nebraska stayed in that game the whole time with Michigan. That's at home for Nebraska. They got outrushed 290 to 43 in that game, right? So stuff can go a lot of different directions.
Anything against them and beat them.
Right. Stuff can go a lot of different directions. And the bigger running days that Michigan's given up have been to quarterbacks this year. Like John Mateer ran a bunch. There was another one of the directional schools they played earlier. The only thing the other team could do was quarterback run in that one. So you got to keep them honest in it. It's both sides of the ball. Like USC, you're year 2 in the Big Ten. You've known that this is happening for a while. Can you go punch these guys? Like, can you go fight offensive line, defensive line battles in this conference? Because everybody can. Like, Wisconsin has been bad and sort of punched back and forth with Michigan a little bit. Nebraska could do it. Like, it's not easy. You don't just line up on the outside and run up 55 points against these Big Ten teams. Like, you got to slug it out in the middle, and your offensive line's got to show up in this one. It has to. That's it. That's the challenge. That's what has to be done.
USC doesn't have to rush for 180 yards to win this game.
No.
But if they rush for 24, they're in trouble, right? You can't be in second 11 all game. You can't be in a position where Lincoln Riley gets spooked and decides, well, we can't run it anymore. So you're throwing the ball every down, because Michigan's good enough with their pass rush, which it's not an overwhelming pass rush. It's not. But they have some good players. And if USC is constantly in long yardage, if Michigan no longer has to worry about the run, then you're hoping that either an injured left tackle, who's probably not going to be at 100%, or a redshirt freshman left tackle is going to hold up out there consistently. And I don't think you can expect that. USC has to have some success. I don't know that they have with the backs they have. I don't know that USC has to dominate Michigan's defensive front to have a successful running game. Wayman Jordan can make things happen. He's a really good player. Talked about how good Justice Haynes is, and he is. Wayman Jordan's pretty darn good, right? Eli Sanders is pretty explosive, and these guys can make plays. USC just can't get dominated up front. They can't. They have to play competently. Because if they do play competently up front, they're going to have some success in the running game. They're going to force Michigan to still deal with it. It's going to open the play action pass. And as we'll talk about in just a second, Michigan's secondary cannot handle USC's wide receivers if Jade Milva has time to throw. That's the reality. They can't. And so this is really a huge matchup. And I don't know. If I had to guess, I would say USC has moderate success. I don't think the running game's going to get completely shut down. I think they're going to have some success, but you're not going to have, Wayman Jordan's not going to be picking up 10, 12, 9, 15. It's not going to be that kind of game. All right, let's turn to the passing game matchups. Let's start with Michigan. Michigan has a 5-star quarterback that makes a lot of money, and he's a true freshman. He threw for 170 yards last week. That was his biggest passing game of the year. He's done a pretty good job of holding on to the football. He's only turned it over once. He also only has 3 touchdown passes. Michigan is going to rely on Marsh, the freshman wide receiver, I think, a lot more than they have earlier in the year. Super talented kid that USC wanted pretty badly. They have another 6'4", 6'5" guy that can make some plays and has had some big games. So let's talk about this matchup. And Eric, let's just stick with you. What do you expect to see from the Michigan pass game, and what does the USC defense need to do to keep that in check so you don't have Michigan with a great run game and a great pass game, which is never good?
I mean, I don't know what they do to keep it in check. Like, I don't think it's going to go crazy. But we've been talking all year. Like, what are the answers for USC in the defensive backfield? I don't know. So you're gonna have let's pen Kamari Ramsey into the starting lineup, right? Like, getting him back. I still, there's a lot to complain about with the Illinois thing, and I don't want to turn the page back to that, but I do think it's understated like how significant, if you're gonna lose one guy, like that's not the guy. I think you could potentially, and maybe this sounds crazy, potentially lose Eric Gentry and be more okay than Ramsey with kind of what he means back there. But that's significant. Having him back is big. And I think what that does for Dan Lynn especially is we can throw a lot of stuff at a true freshman quarterback that, he's going against Wink Martindale in practice, and so there's some overlap, that kind of stuff. He's probably seen some of this stuff, but I think you can dial up quite a bit of that pre-snap, post-snap picture change, that sort of thing with Kamari Ramsey back there. So I think that's big, right? Anything that he sees after the snap is different than what he saw pre-snap, and that's always significant when you have, a true freshman quarterback going. The wide receivers, they can't scare you, right? They just can't. You can't have cornerbacks lined up terrified of what's coming, right? Scared of getting beat deep, scared of getting beat across their face, all that sort of stuff. It's just, you got to go put hands on these guys and be confident against them. They can all play. It's not a passing attack that has scared Nebraska. Did a little bit against Wisconsin. I think a lot of people can do stuff against Wisconsin this year. Like, it's not one of those where you come in going, holy cow, what are we going to do against this? I think you got to tell your corners, like, play against them. And if I'm Michigan, I want the ball in the hands of some of my receivers very fast, and then say, just go run those guys over, because they haven't really been confident when it comes to tackling, when it comes to pursuit angles, when it comes to staying close and making quick tackles. And so again, just like the USC defensive line, like, it's the same message to the USC corners, the USC secondary. Like, go beat these guys up a little bit. Like, put your hands on them, stay tough, make tackles when they catch the ball. It's football. This feels like one of those easy football games, right? Make the most solid tackles in this game and you're gonna be okay.
Yeah, so Greg, everybody knows that USC's secondary play was just a gigantic grease fire last week. Good news is your best secondary guy is coming back. That means at one of your 5 spots, you are going to be dramatically better this week than you were last week. DeCarlos Nicholson presumably will be healthy. Nicholson is not Adoree Jackson, but he's played at times pretty well this year. And I think you at least have a guy at corner with Nicholson when he's healthy that you say, okay, I think he can make some plays for us. He's not going to be a liability every down. At the other corner spot, I'm not sure you can say that. At the other corner spot, I think you are going to be playing somebody who's going to be a liability every down. But at the same time, the Michigan wide receiving core is not exactly USC's wide receiving core. So what do we expect from this secondary? And if you're the USC defensive coordinator, how hard are you working to protect these secondary guys? And how much are you telling them, fellas, we got to stop the run. You got to play. And if you can't play, then we're just in trouble.
Well, it all starts off again redundantly with what kind of pass rush, what kind of discipline, how many times they can get to Underwood, which will be hard because he's such a good athlete. I don't have a lot of confidence about the SC secondary. You don't have to, very few teams have the combination that SC has at wide receiver. I mean, SC's 2 receivers are really, really good. One of them is, to me, an All-American in Lemon. So, they're already, no matter who SC plays, you are going to face wide receivers that are just NFL prospects, and maybe more so than just prospects. I think that, from my perspective in looking at it, you're talking about, it doesn't make any difference whether Michigan has great wide receivers. They're going to be good enough because of who they're going against. And that's really important. If you got decent receivers going against an average secondary, the decent receivers are going to get their chances. And I think those receivers on Michigan know it. They can see it. So it really gets down to what SC can do defensively, not just on the front 4, but the front 7, so to speak. Can they make Underwood throw the ball just poor enough that they get some interceptions? That would help. If SC gets into this thing where they don't get a lead in the first quarter, or they don't have much of a lead in the second quarter, every quarter that SC doesn't get a lead, I think, in my opinion, of 10 points is going to put pressure in that second half. because Michigan's not going to change what they do. Illinois didn't change what they do. They just did it. They just did it better than SC did, and they allowed them to get to a point in the game where when it really counted, they could run the ball, they could pass the ball, and I kind of see Michigan kind of like Illinois, but a higher level of ball, in my opinion. So we'll see.
So Mark, Greg says Michigan is Illinois with a higher level of ball. Not a quarterback. I think we can agree that Illinois quarterback, who's going to be an NFL player, is probably going to be better than a redshirt or a true freshman on the road. And so I'm trying to sunshine pump. I'm trying to get the pump going for you, Mark. Talk us off the ledge. Help us to believe that USC is going to be good enough with their pass defense to win this game.
Based off what we've seen so far?
Maybe not that. Let's try something. Let's try a different argument.
I'm going to lie to everybody. Look, they have the guys to get it done. I think Kamari Ramsey makes a huge difference. Missing him from that last game, you're losing the guy who is your master communicator, the guy who's going to make sure everybody's in the right position, getting on them, making sure that they're lining up in the right spot, not playing soft press coverage when they should be playing full press coverage or off the receiver, whatever the case may be. What I know about what I've seen from Bryce Underwood and the Michigan passing game so far, and I touched on it a little bit earlier, he's got the talent. He can make every throw that you ask a quarterback to make. He can drop his arm. He can throw from different angles. The question is, are his receivers going to hold on to the ball? That's been a major problem this year for those guys. Is Andrew Marsh all of a sudden that 5-star wide receiver that they're going to make their go-to guy? Or are they going to throw the ball up to, I think his last name was McCulley, 6'5". He made some nice acrobatic catches against Wisconsin last week. They're not a passing team. They pass because they have to keep opposing defenses honest. If they wanted to, they would run the ball 8 out of every 10 plays called, but you have to throw the ball. This is the game where USC secondary has to say, you know what, we're just better than the guys we're going up against. And they have to approach it that way. They'll be a lot better if USC's defensive line can get into the backfield and make Bryce Underwood uncomfortable. You said it. He's a true freshman. He's playing on the road, sold out Coliseum. It's different than playing at Oklahoma, big city, bright lights, all that kind of stuff. I don't know if that'll play a role, but we're going to see if he's ready for primetime game, national TV, sold out Coliseum, two of the most iconic helmets going against each other in college football. We'll see if he can hold up to the pressure. Because if the game is close, which I think we're probably anticipating it will be, as the game goes on, now all of a sudden, the pressure gets bigger because he has to make a play because USC's defense is doing enough to keep them in the game. Does that mean that USC's offense isn't doing enough? I don't know. But I'd like to lean on the fact that USC's defense is having a good game.
Yeah. The question here is whether Underwood's going to get to throw the ball on his terms or USC's. If he's in 3rd and 12 all day because USC is committed to the run and playing well against the run, then he's going to have a hard time. This is not a Michigan team that's shown an explosive passing attack, and I don't think you're likely to see that on a consistent basis Saturday. I think Michigan will have some big pass plays because everybody has some big pass plays against USC. And USC can give up a couple of long passes and a long run from Justice Haynes and still win the game. The question, though, is whether he's throwing then or whether he's in 2nd and 2 all day and he gets to throw a play action pass. Because if that's where Michigan is, USC is going to have a very difficult time stopping them. It'll probably be impossible. If that's where they are, USC is just going to have to score a boatload of points and hope they have the ball last. And so I know it seems lame to say, well, we're talking about the passing game matchups and now you're going back to the running game, but that's it. That's everything for USC. If Michigan is in 2nd and 3, 3rd and 1 all day, they can't stop the pass either. They're just going to get barbecued all day. If USC can put Michigan behind the sticks, at least for much of the game, then I'm not as worried about Underwood in the passing game. It's a kid who has a career high of 170 yards. He has 3 total passing touchdowns. This is not Illinois' quarterback. He is not that experienced. He's not that good at reading defenses. He's not at that level yet. But we'll see whether they can handle the running game well enough to put him in those bad spots. That's going to be the game. Now let's talk about the last piece, which is really USC's biggest advantage by far, which is the USC passing game against Michigan's pass defense. Michigan's pass defense hasn't been terrible this year. But if you look at who they played, the pass defenses they played against are not in the same universe as what USC puts on the field with Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane and 2 very solid tight ends, and Jade Mayava, who is statistically at least the best quarterback in the country. And it's not close. I mean, it's not close. Statistically, Jade Mayava is easily the best quarterback in the country. So, Eric McKinney, is the USC passing attack going to carve up the Michigan secondary and go for, I don't know, 330 yards and 3 touchdowns in the air? Is that going to happen?
How much time does Jaden get to throw? I think that's it, right? We just talked about what the Michigan offense can do, and it's dependent on what that USC defensive line can do. And I think it's the same way the other way. If there's time, and the one thing that USC quarterbacks, both of them, Miller Moss last year, Jade Mayava too, they've been really good at getting in and out of the pocket and moving around and still getting balls out, like not taking sacks. That number has been really good consistently for both of them. So if you can even block one side, right, and let him go out the other way, let him kind of move a little bit, and Mayava can kind of keep his eyes downfield, and the pressure's not straight in his face up the middle, which we saw a couple times against Illinois, and it's not coming both sides around the edge. Yes, USC has a passing game advantage against any team. I mean, there's some good secondaries out there, some good linebackers, really good groups. I'll take USC's offensive weaponry at what the health should be this weekend. You talked about the wide receivers, Zacharias Williams kind of on that bubble too, right? This is about that time where you thought maybe he's coming back. Haven't seen a lot from him, but throw another big body out there, and that's another weapon that you can go to. It's an advantage for USC. They have to make it an advantage in this one. And Mekhi Lemon's going to show up like this. I think Mekhi Lemon probably sits down at the beginning of the year and circles every single game on the calendar. But you remember the hit he took against Michigan last year, and this might be one for him where he shows up in a big way. So yes, if Jaden Mayava can get off, throws out of a clean pocket, and that offense is operating without the Michigan pass rush doing even close to what it did last year, USC probably feels good about being able to throw. Now, this is a Michigan defensive secondary that, like, Rod Moore came back, I think, a couple weeks ago. So, like, it's healthier, but, you know, Will Johnson's not back there. Like, there's not a guy where you go, uh-oh, that guy's back there. We got to avoid him. I think you're okay if you're USC because you have that advantage. And every team's coming in going, well, here comes the USC passing attack. Like, this is a problem for us. So you have to really lean into that if you're USC.
Yeah, Mark, when USC puts Jacoby Lane and Mekhi Lemon on the field, Michigan doesn't have anybody who can cover those guys if Jaden Mayava has time. So, is Jaden Mayava going to have time?
I keep going back to the USC offensive line last year against Michigan. So right now, my answer is they have to be. They have to be better than last year. Here's what I like about Jaden Mayava. He's more dynamic than Miller Moss. If he needs to escape, he's got better tools to use, I guess is the best way to put it. He can, get outside the pocket. He could use his legs if things break down. That's something that we didn't see a whole lot of last year, including when Jaden was, thrust into the starter's role for those final 4 games of the season. He's more comfortable now. I think that he will have enough time to use his tools, to use the guys on the outside. And again, he doesn't have to wait for Mekhi Lemon to come open deep or Jacoby Lane to win that one-on-one battle. He's got the tight ends he can use now, and that's such a big part of the offense. That is literally USC's third wide receiver. So as long as USC's getting a semblance of their running game, for 150 yards per game, if they can reach that benchmark, I think Jaden Maiava will have enough time and he has enough toys to work with that Michigan, they have to commit to one or the other. So I do think that, to answer your question, it took me a while. Yes, because USC is going to come back the same way Illinois came back. They realized they did not put forth a great effort. It showed everybody. They got to come with that same attitude. Be pissed off. Show that you can play bully ball. I actually think it would be better if USC wins Michigan style of football, because it shows them that, hey, you know what? Doesn't matter how we play, we can win. We can win smash mouth, or if we need to open it up and score a lot of points, we can do that as well.
Well, I would always prefer USC to run the ball for 376 yards and win a football game. But, hey, Greg, USC's playing at home. That is a major advantage when it comes to the passing game, right? I mean, playing on the road is tough. You can't hear. It gives the pass rushers a huge advantage. And frankly, we've seen over the last few years, USC's passing game tends to be substantially better at home than it is on the road. Michigan's pass rush is not what it was last year. They have some good players. Michigan always has some good players up front. But they don't have the same edge rusher that they had last year, who just brutalized USC. They certainly don't have 2 NFL starters at defensive tackle like they did last year. So the reality is that USC should be able to protect Maiava probably about as well as they did last week against Illinois. And if they do that, USC is going to have a big day in the passing game, right? Am I missing something?
Well, from my perspective, I think Michigan is going to ball control USC and not allow USC's offense to get on the field very much if they can help it. I can see them wanting to go 13 plays, 80 yards and 13 plays if they can do it. And the more times they do it, that means that SC's offense doesn't get on the field and can't get into a rhythm. Now, what it also means is that SC has an opportunity to turn the switch on Michigan and make them have their defense on the field for a long time. I don't think that's, SC marching down the field 80 yards and 15 plays is not the way that I think they want to play. Not that they're against it at all. I think they would like to keep Michigan's offense off the field, because Michigan's going to use the offense to shrink time off the clock, keep SC. Look at Maiava is a big deal in this game. Of all the games he's played, this is the biggest game he'll play in, because he is going to have a chance to scramble out of the pocket, which he does, and he does well. And he could really pick up first downs and keep drives alive. The question is can SC put points on the board when they do have the ball? We know they can make field goals. They have a competent kicker. The question is, can they make touchdowns? And they have to get as many touchdowns when they have the ball as they possibly can. You can say, oh, duh, really? But they have to, because otherwise they may not get the ball in another 7 minutes. And that's how I look at it. So we'll see how it works out.
Yeah. Okay, guys, it's prediction time. Give me the winner, give me the score, and give me a very brief synopsis of why you think it's going to play out that way. We're going to start with our most glass half full guy, Mark Culkin. Let me know what's going to happen on Saturday.
Jaden's going to throw for 250. Waymo's going to run for 125. Your leading wide receiver will be the tight end position. And USC is going to leave the Coliseum with a 31-27 victory.
I take that. Greg Katz, do you agree?
Well, it depends on my head and my heart.
Give
My
us give us both. Why not?
Well, let me get to it before you rip me apart. I do that to make you happy. Look at you. Look at that smile. That is a real
I'm
loyal
happy.
smile right there, boy. Guilty. All right. Um, I obviously I want SC to win. I don't care whether it's by 1 point or by 20 points. It doesn't matter. They need to win. That's the important thing to me. And it really gets down to me. I said the week before, the last time SC played, it's going to get down to a battle of secondary, uh, how each team's secondary plays. And SC, obviously, it didn't work out for them per se. But I'll say this: if SC's front seven can make a difference in this game, and they can control Underwood's running ability, I'll think that SC. I think it'll be for college football day. I think it'll be a relatively low scoring game. I think it'll be like I'm not against what Mark said. I think that it could be around that. Maybe 34-31. Maybe SC wins on a field goal, and I'd be okay with that. So I'm going to pick SC by a field goal, and hopefully, that's what happens.
Eric McKinney, give me the good news.
I think I've got kind of a market. So I looked at last year and I just wanted it to be a flip of last year, but I think it's that USC scores one more touchdown. So 31-27. Saying it out loud, it feels low scoring because like you said, Michigan's got a big play or two in them because the USC defense has a big play or two against them, like penciled in at this point as we go into it. But I think I could see kind of some back and forth punts and field position and a little bit of that in here too. And USC at home makes a play at the end. Offense or defense, whatever it is, makes a play at the end to get it. I'm trying to sit here and think about what's the discussion next week if USC loses this game, right? Like
You don't
it
want to think about that.
becomes
I'm
it
coming after
becomes another one where you're just lining up. Got to win this one. 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 And it's not and not and not and not. And so this one is really big. Again, we talked about the home schedule this year. The home schedule this year, this is the one. I know Iowa's coming in, the big one against Northwestern. This is the one. Coming off the bye, you got to show up. You have to Big Ten out physical a Michigan team that is going to absolutely lean into that and have fan support. Fan support there. We talk, home game, yes, for USC. If it starts to tip, those Michigan fans are going to be loud. So USC's got to do a really good job of kind of coming out early, not fumbling on the opening drive. And they should be better than this Michigan team, or at least good enough to win on Saturday.
I think we're going to see a desperate USC team Saturday. That Illinois loss was a bad loss, not because Illinois is a bad team. They're not. They lost on the road. It was a bad loss because USC thought they were in a position to show that they were now a physical, aggressive defense that couldn't get pushed around anymore, and they got pushed around. USC is going to be desperate. They're going to be angry. And frankly, I think the Trojans know they wouldn't admit this out loud. I think they know that if they lose this game, the season will be a disaster. Because if you lose this game, it's hard to imagine winning in South Bend the week after. It's very difficult to see winning in Eugene almost no matter what happens this Saturday. That's a major challenge. And you still have a away game at Nebraska, a home game against Iowa. I mean, if you lose this one, you're probably going 7-5. And that is an absolute disaster if you're USC football, if you're Lincoln Riley. USC has to win this game. You're never as good as you look when you have a big win. You're never as bad as you look when you have a tough loss. USC's defensive line is not as bad as they played against Illinois. They're not going to dominate Michigan's front. They will be competitive. They will make some plays. Michigan's going to have some big plays offensively. Everybody has big plays offensively against USC, but I don't think they're going to drive down the field and punch it in every time they get the ball. I don't think it's going to be that kind of game. Vegas expects it to be somewhere around 28-26 or 29-26 for USC. That sounds about right to me. I think it's going to be a game in the high 20s. I think USC has enough to beat a Michigan team that still has a true freshman quarterback playing on the road and has never thrown for more than 170 yards and a single touchdown in a game. And that is not going to get it done against USC. Statistically, he'll probably be all right. He's not going to be good enough to win this game at the Coliseum when USC absolutely has to have it. And if he is, I don't even think you want to tune in next week and hear what I have to say. It'll be grim. I'm picking the Trojans 29-26, and USC will be up to number 20 in the polls, Mark, and life will be good. Guys, is there anything else we need to say before we sign off?
Yeah, they better win. If they don't win, this is going to be the least popular Lincoln Riley show ever. Promise you.
You're just, I mean,
oh no,
you're getting to the
Mark is
point.
getting up for it.
You're just getting to the point where you're just checking in as we're fighting for number 7 in the Big Ten every year, right? I mean, I know it's early in like the Big Ten, you know, in 50 years, if they're still in the Big Ten, this feels very, very early. But again, it's like
It's year 4.
these are how these games are won in this conference. They're how they're won. Go fight, go be good in the trenches, bring your defensive line, have your offensive line push people around at times so that you can pick up some key running yards and win a close game. You got to do it. You got to do it.
It's going to be a close game, and the whole season rides on this one. It's going to be fun. It's going to be
The good
fun.
thing is you don't have to watch USC Notre Dame if they lose, right? Because it's done. Shut it off. That's it for you. I know you don't like those games anyway.
I've still spent all the money to go. I'm just going to go with a horrible attitude.
No, it's not it. We're top 20 matchup when USC goes to Notre Dame. USC turns around after the bye. Chance for 2 in a row.
Yep.
So
I agree.
USC will be the number 21 team in the country going into South Bend.
19.
I just booked my trip to Lincoln, Nebraska.
All right, fellas. Well, I'll see you this weekend at the Coliseum. Everybody show up, yell. They need a home field advantage for once. And until next week, fight on, everybody.